Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming tonight. We are about 15 minutes late into our show, be some technical difficulties, but we're here. And thank you for coming tonight. As you know, we're a grassroots organization that is working to save dollars in the Black community. And we believe the best way to do this is to uplift our businesses. So as we raise those dollars will go towards improving the operations, marketing, employee, and we're also working to improve policies and create public policies in our Black businesses. Tonight, every Wednesday night, we present you our Behind Business podcast, where we're showcasing our Black businesses here in the city of Chicago. And we are also featuring our bookstores. Every month we have a new bookstore. So this month, our Black bookstore is Frontline, located in Hyde Park. And our featured guest on our show tonight is Brother Sekou Tafari. And so without any further commentary, we're going to get this dialogue. Brother Sekou has a lot of good information to impart. Looking forward to his discussion. Our host, Gregory Sane, in Behind Black Business. Thank you.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. And thank you, Denise, for that introduction. Good evening to the listening audience out there that's viewing this program that come on weekly, 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights. Set your schedules so that you can always tune in to one of the best podcasts I have been part of. And I say that because many times we have different shows where we are complaining, and some of it rightfully so. And we have shows where we are talking about what they're doing to us, rightfully so. But we don't really focus enough on uniting. We don't focus enough on collectively supporting each other. We don't focus enough on the solutions. And so we are in our own way. We have to get out our own way by focusing on supporting each other. We got to focus on supporting each other. The Black businesses in our community don't get the support they need, deserve, because oftentimes in recognition, because we don't even know that some of them exist. We don't shop around. We don't research enough. And so there's Amazon and there's these other big conglomerates that's sucking up the businesses, sucking up the dollars that should be going to Black businesses. We have a few Black bookstores in Chicago, and we don't support it because it's very convenient and very easy and might even be a little less expensive. I don't know. But I do know that supporting our own people is worth the sacrifice. Even if it's a couple of dollars more, it makes more sense to support our own Black business. So I'm very honored. I want to have our guests on today. This brother right here is absolutely a powerful brother, Sekou, and he has been doing a marvelous yeoman's job in keeping the bookstore alive and prosperous. And let's bring our guests on. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, this is my brother right here who's been in the game a long time. Very conscious Black man and a very rooted Black man. And I'm so proud that our people, everybody has not fallen for the okie-doke, where we give up our culture. We give up our four-ways. We give up our blend. We give up our identity. You know, we don't want to support our own. We don't even dig our own language, our own names. There's so much we have lost. And it's time to gain it back. And so we're going to speak with our brother for a few minutes here just to talk about how things are going in his business, how long he has been in the business, and some of the goals that he has for his business, and etc. So good evening, brother. Sekou, how you doing? Can you hear me, brother?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
I'm here.
sir. How you? Good, good. You doing pretty good?
We're doing good.
Good. How long have you been in business?
Pardon me?
How long have you been in business?
All my life.
All your life.
All my life.
And what about how long have?
But
Go ahead.
I've been in this book, the book business here, in Chicago, for the last a little over 33 years.
Yes, sir. And brother, I want to make sure I pronounce your name correct. I know it's Sekou. Is that,
Yes,
can
correct.
you pronounce? Is that it?
Yes.
And what does that mean? I know it's a name
Pardon
from
me?
what does your name mean? What does it mean?
It means fighter or warrior.
Fighter
I guess
or
I'm gonna
warrior.
fight for everything I need.
I love it. I
African
knew.
people, black people don't get nothing easy.
That's right, brother.
That might be a fact. We have to struggle and fight and scratch and bite to get everything.
Yes,
And
sir.
we living in a period for the last year and plus of a pandemic or whatever you want to call it, whether it's a world catastrophe going on right now, and we were not prepared for this. However, I'm thankful for the continuous support that we continue to get as an entity here on the south side of Chicago in Hyde Park. So we are grateful for the support from the community. We know the community don't have a whole lot of money now, but usually we get much more support. So I mean, we are under the gun right now because we're trying to make sure we could pay our rent. Rent is very high in Hyde Park. So we are trying to pay our rent. We're behind on rent. We're behind on a lot of things because of the pandemic. Even when they give you money, it's not money to pay rent. It's money to pay wages, and then rent is basically a high commodity, a high expense. However, we also, although you see the bookstore, the main thing behind the bookstore and the cultural stores is the publishing aspect of it, the publishing piece. So the publishing piece is a crucial part of our bookstore, and we are a book publisher. We have the rights to many titles, including the autobiography of Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia. We have the rights in the 2 volumes, and we distribute them, across the entire globe. So our foundation is a strong foundation, building from the grassroots, going up, from the bottom going up. We believe in having a strong foundation, strong pillars, and therefore, when you have a strong pillar, it's very hard to you may face the same challenges, but you are rooted in the foundation, and that is one of the things that Frontline as an entity has. So we love the whole idea of being rooted in among the masses of people, African people, working class people, oppressed people. We are very much, that is our foundation.
Very, very good. And I love it, man. I mean, I don't like to hear, I know, many Black businesses, small businesses, and just middle size or whatever size have absolutely took hits because of the pandemic, and as you say, or the pandemic, but many businesses have taken hits, and I'm glad that you still are afloat. And I know it's like many other things when it comes to, they call it Hyde Park. It should be HIGH, High Park. High as heck for the rent. High Park. And it's purposely done. I remember back in the day, Harper's Court. I know you all been there for a long time around that area, right? You've been there for many years. I've purchased books out of your store, and I get one of the best feelings when I'm inside that store. I mean, there's a lot of the items in there that you can get, but it feels so deep. It's almost like you could feel our ancestors, the knowledge inside of that, inside of the books, and just the whole atmosphere is so spiritual. And I've always enjoyed coming inside the store and supporting it. So I know a lot of people got these loans, and I hope you were able to get some help to kind of sustain yourself. I know people did get it. I don't know too much about it. Some people didn't go that route for other reasons, but I am just happy to know that you're still here and the business is still going, and you're doing, and that's why folks who are listening to this broadcast, we have to support our brothers. We must support our brothers, and we got to make sure that all of us support Black bookstores, support Black businesses, but support Black bookstores. Support this brother's business. Can we put the address? I know you could give us the address. Put the address on the screen.
The address is 5206 South Harper Avenue, Chicago, Illinois.
South Harper Avenue, right there.
Avenue, that's in Hyde Park.
Yes, right. Harper
Avenue. Everybody call now downtown Hyde Park.
That's right. Yeah, and folks, the benefits from supporting Black bookstores, like the benefits from supporting any Black business, is that we keep them employed. We keep, you can't find a lot of books. You think you can find everything on Amazon or wherever you go, but this brother have books that you won't find on Amazon, and they're Black authors who are not, selling their books through Amazon. I understand the modern times and all of that stuff, but I love a hard copy. I love walking into the bookstore and grabbing what I want, and then looking at other books that's staring at me that I know I should be purchasing.
Well, we do sell books on Amazon through Amazon Advantage. However, Amazon Advantage program, they order books according to what the people ask for, and then it's like a stick up, really, because at the end of the day, Amazon tells you what you must pay them. So at the end of the day, we have to pay shipping to ship the books to Amazon, and we also have to give Amazon close to 60% off the net price of the book. So
right.
you examine that and see where we are in terms of being able to deal with Amazon, because they are a conglomerate. They demand what you must pay them. You can't negotiate with Amazon, because white is right and white is power and white structure. They it's part of the whole capitalist society, and they therefore dictate to you what you must pay, what they must pay you. So
Wow.
at the end of the day, you know, we must understand that the whole question of a black bookstore is a pillar of what we call knowledge, because you know when you look at history, you look at Kemet, Alexandria. When they went into Alexandria, the first thing they went into was a tuberary, or what some people call library, right? But there's no lie in those things. Is basically about truth. So we rename it tuberies. And when they went into places like the British went into Ethiopia, it's the same way they raided the libraries, took all the things like the Kibra Negas, the Fete Negas, the Bandit of Righteousness, and so on. And you know, so it's a common thing that when the invader goes into a country, they look for the knowledge, they look for the manuscripts, they look for pieces of the art that you know, and so on. So what we're doing is a continuation of educating our people, because when you had stores like Borders and Barnes and Nobles and all these bookstores, the books you find in there was not to lift our people up. It was to keep our people as buffoons. And it was not to educate our people. It was not to educate our youth. So when you come into a store like us, Frontline Bookstore, you're going to get elevation from the youngest mind, the children, to the adults, on all aspects, because we don't discriminate in terms of the books, even though whatever our ideology may be, we don't discriminate because we believe in free thinking. We believe that all people should be allowed to read and to conceptualize whatever thought they have, whether it's about Freemasonry, whether it's about Islam, whether it's about Rastafari, whether it's about New Age, whatever is the concept, we believe that all there should be free thought and free thinking should reign. Give
Beautiful. What book? I know oftentimes I'm in discussions with folks and we point out certain books like must-read books like Chancellor Williams' book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, or Francis Cress Welsing book,
ISIS
The
Papers.
ISIS Paper, or we talk about the miseducation of the Negro,
Carter G. Woodson.
Carter G. Woodson, and we tell people even about the book by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, The Message to the Black Man.
Message to the Black Man.
Right, and I'm so glad. And then what's that book about the life of, I know people read Malcolm's autobiography, but that's not the heavyweight books. There's a lot of other books and a lot of other authors. But the book with Brother Marcus Garvey.
Philosophy and Opinions. Lessons for
Yeah.
African People.
Yes. Yeah. And what book is more popular in terms of people, young people and others come to find in your store? Is there like a popular 2 or 3 books that's like a must read for people?
Well, I would say if you want to elevate yourself, you must read Marcus Garvey. You must read A Philosophy and Opinion. Marcus Garvey was one of the most profound leaders of the 20th century. In terms of he was able to galvanize in the 1920s when there was no social media. He was able to galvanize across the African world, across the African diaspora, at least over 7 million people. Some people say as much as 10 million people. Sailors would take the papers, the Nation newspaper, or the Black Man newspaper. Sailors would take it and tie it under their shirts, and would move it to places like Azania, South Africa, take it to places like Costa Rica, Panama, and all these different places. So I would see a must read, must be Philosophy and Opinion, Lessons of African People. Anything on Marcus Garvey, I would say, I think is a must read, because Marcus Garvey was one of the Africans that had the greatest impact here in North America, up until he was forcibly charged and railroaded through the court system in America, and then forcibly deported to his native country, Jamaica. So I think that Marcus Garvey has made one of the greatest impact. One of the books I think I would recommend as in addition would be a book like Chancellor William, Destruction of Black Civilization. And also the other book he has, The Rebirth of Black Civilization. It's strange enough that we always want to read about destruction, but we don't want to read about the rebirth. And that is something deep in our psyche. Also, a great book is Isis Paper. I would recommend it very strongly in terms of the psychology behind the whole question of the black and white, and the whole question of melanin, and so on. And we all people need to know more about these things. We need to know more about the Stolen Legacy by John James from Guyana. You have people like J. Rogers, very profound historian from Jamaica, who came and made an impact here in North America. If you want to read about any early readings, you must read about J. Rogers.
What's the name of his book, J.R. Rogers? Because I have that book. What's the name of that book by J.R. Rogers?
Superman to Man.
Yes. Yes, and he have another one that's very popular.
Great Men of Color.
Yes, yes, and then the other book about the amazing
facts of the Negro.
Yes, amazing facts.
Facts of the Negro.
Yes, yes. If you know today, bro, everybody, well, not everybody. If everybody noticed, and I know you have, all of a sudden the conversation, which were by gatekeepers to me, not the conscious people, but and I think more so white people, about the critical race theory. What book would you recommend that people come and buy out of your store regarding the critical race theory? You know, the discussion around
what?
You know, everybody's talking about race theory. The race theory.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Critical
I
race
would say
theory.
Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey and Lessons for African People was taught in 1937 after being deported from America. He was deported to Jamaica, and he decided to bring together the best of his cadres that made up in the UNI, all the great leaders from across the diaspora, more so America, Canada, South America, and even as far as Liberia, the best students and leaders of the different units of the UNI across the world came together in September of 1937 for about 2 weeks or so, and Garvey taught the class. So it's the closest thing we could come to something that we could say Garvey may have written per se. But that class, Garvey teaches you how to prepare for life. So I re-edited it, and we called it Lessons for African People, because it breaks down the whole concept of what you should do, how you should be ready, how you could be prepared for, as he say, in a world of wolves, you must go prepared. And one of the most powerful defensive weapons in the reach of Africans today is the belief of the practice of race first. And I think that Marcus Garvey would be a great start. Reading Philosophy and Opinion, Volume 1 and 2, and also Lessons from African People, which is a course he taught in African philosophy in 1937 in Halifax, Canada.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I'm gonna come and get that book myself. I need that one. I'll stop in before the week is out, and I'm gonna purchase that book myself. Now, when you look at where you located at, and traffic-wise, do you get a lot of business from just foot traffic and people?
We have some foot traffic, reasonable foot traffic, but at the end of the day, more people go to 50 Street, I would say 300 times more than the people who pass on 52nd and Harper. So though we on 52nd and Harper, and it says downtown Hyde Park, more traffic still runs and dominates 3rd Street, which is a half a block away. So we get a reasonable amount of traffic, but we can do it more if we were on 53rd Street.
And so you have 2 bookstores, right?
Well,
You have another bookstore on 63rd?
We have this bookstore, and we are associated with another bookstore. Which is an associate of ours in on Cottage Grove.
Now, you say on where?
So it's part of the fraternity.
Oh, okay. Okay. And how's that going?
Well, the problem is, it could do better because it was opened on the first day of Kwanzaa, 2019. So that is December 26, 2019. And 3 months after it was opened, you know what happened? The pandemic. So it is in a very much what do you call, a very great area. Downstairs the grand ballroom, and opposite the grand ballroom is the Social Security. It has been closed since March of last year. And then you have the train station and the bus stop. But too many people is not on the road. And that's one of the things. And that area there, it was a beautiful area, I love it, is in an area where you have a lot of gang violence taking place. So more and more people are finding a place. Social Security office still closed. They're still taking what do you call, people have to make appointments to go there. So a lot of people is not on the streets. So while we open and it would have been a successful business immediately, or as the case might be, because we were set up there to do printing of T-shirts and all that for the community. But as I said, just after we opened, 3 months after, the pandemic hit, and it affected us drastically because we all were ill prepared.
Do you have any kind of, are you a vendor for the school system? Are they buying books from you? The school system? Are you a vendor for the school system? Do they buy books from you?
No, we are not a vendor for the school system. Because the school system, they put you through a whole lot of changes. We used to sell books to the private schools, so on, but we have not been a vendor to the Chicago public schools.
Yeah, and that's a shame. With all of the black children,
with a young lady who had a license, but that the conversation never was completed.
Yeah, it makes no sense that we continue to allow, I don't care what institution it is, period, city or state, they should be doing more business with black people, and no pressure is put on any institutions. I mean, all of them should be doing, and they like to throw, everybody like to throw around that word diversity and equity and all of that. But in fact, we don't put enough pressure on the elected, black elected political figures, officials, etc. We don't put enough pressure on businesses. We don't put enough pressure on each other to make sure that your business and other black bookstores, people should be buying bulks of books. I mean, professors.
Well, they should be, but black bookstores are a dying feature now. You know, way back in 1995, we had black bookstores all over the country, probably about 300 or 400 at one time. And we were predominantly at that time a wholesaler. And we were selling, among with other black book wholesalers, to different bookstores across the country. Now, if at this point in time, there remain 20 black bookstores, and I say black bookstores in terms of that they have a strong black bookstore section, and not a place that's selling a few books in a corner. I'm talking about being a bookstore where you sell it online or you sell it in person or whatever the case might be. Not a whole lot more. In 1995, as I said, we were basically a wholesaler on the west side. We had the store on 75th Street and as well, and books were flying up to last year when in the time of the killing of George Floyd and all the other killings that was taking place in the country. When this place opened up at the end of June into July, there was a run on black bookstores because young black people and even white people and medical office doctors and all these people, they all were concerned about what you call the conversation about race and racism in the workplace. So people were coming for books on racism 101. People were coming for all different type of books, Stolen Legacy, ISIS paper, Destruction of Black Civilization, books about the Black Panthers. People were coming to books about Malcolm X biography, all these books. There was a run on the books, basically because of what was taking place spontaneously within North America. So the once you had those, the conversation was taking place among youths. So young people now wanted to know what was taking place or what had taken place historically in the 60s and 50s and 70s and so on. Much as they could read about Fred Hampton, about Assata, about Malcolm X, about Elijah Muhammad, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because there should be a push. Because if somebody's gonna talk about Black history and etc., then you definitely should know more about it from a revolutionary perspective, not a watered down version. That people want to teach our people. We don't need a watered down version. We need every instructor that's going to teach so-called Black history to use books, highly recommended books that we know are missing from the curriculum. So how are you going to effectively talk about Black history when you're not going to pick up a book like The Destruction of Black Civilization? How are you going to talk about Black history? When all of those books that you just mentioned are not in the classroom and the professor, the teacher, haven't read them. How dare you claim to teach Black history and you don't know your own history and you're afraid to embrace the Honorable Brother Marcus Garvey, Messiah Marcus Garvey, his books, and even the real truth about the Black Panthers, that marvelous, amazing, divine group of Black brothers and sisters that fed me breakfast. I always let people know why I'm a big fan of the Black Panthers. They fed me breakfast, in the morning. And I've had the opportunity, the blessing, to have Fred Hampton Jr. and his mom, love that sister, on my show. And they've done a great job, but I know I can tell you, Denise had asked a question about local junior colleges. I doubt if they have your books. Do they? And that'd be great. But do they shop with you? Any local colleges or junior colleges?
There's a private school, what do you call them? High school, Black high school.
The charter schools?
They used to shop with us at one time. I haven't seen them shop with us for the last few years, but they used to shop with us a great deal and give us a book list at times, and we'll get in books for them as Miss Education and Negro and destruction and brainwash and stuff like that.
Oh
But
yeah, I like that book by Brainwash. Is that the one with the brothers?
Seen them order books from us for a long time, and also I haven't seen any of the public schools order books from us. And the reality of it is, you deal with a system whereby in Chicago and across North America, where Black studies and Black history is not high on the curriculum. Reading is not high in the curriculum at all in the first place. And when you look at you dedicate the shortest month in the year as Black History Month, rather than impose on Black youth and overall students on a whole, because that's the only how and the only reason why you will have Black people and along with other people will have respect for Black culture and Black history, because Black people history didn't start with the slave trade. Black people history didn't start with the Middle Passage. Black people history didn't start with it. It didn't start with none of those things. It started thousands and thousands of years ago.
That's right.
Across the what do you call the Nile civilization, right? So our civilization is hundreds and thousands of years ago. When you look at the question of the oldest species or human being found, Dinkanish, what the Europeans call Lucy, is over 3.2 million years old. That tells you how long our history starts. Our history didn't start with a boy called Adam and Eve or a girl called Eve. You know, that is their history. That is their story. Our story goes way beyond time. They just found on Earth a civilization older than Kemet in what we call among the Sans people in southern Africa, Azani area, where you find monks and so on, older, over 100 and something thousand years old, older than the history of Kemet. So our history didn't start with the Middle Passage. Our history didn't start with when they came and enslaved us on the African continent. In fact, when they came to the African continent, there were no prisons. They were not prisons. African people, oppressed people, whether it was in the Aborigines in Australia, or whether it was in New Zealand, or whether it was here in North America and the Caribbean, the people who inhabited these areas, they know nothing about prisons. Prisons is something that came recently and imposed by Europeans on us.
Yes, sir. You know,
so
a
the
good
reality
book
of
too,
it is,
brother.
our history is a valid and rich history that our youth need to know.
Right.
And even some of our elders who fail to know. And why? And here's the reason. We are ill prepared to deal with this society that we live in.
Yeah, you know, a great book that I love too is They Came Before Columbus, and by
They Came Before
Alan
Columbus by
Van
Bansatima.
Soden. Yeah.
And as you say that, we just lose one of our great historians, Runuku Rashidi, very good historian, Vansatima. He just passed, I think was yesterday. While
may
in
God
Kemet,
be pleased with him.
you know, and great historian open up the question of the untouchables or the Davidians, that we to show that Kemet, Kush, the people of Kush inhabited in India, what we know as India today, sub Asia. We inhabited Asia, and if you look today, there's still a lot of African people in southern India, and also the fact that we must look and remember that even the people we turn up to 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago as heroes, the youths today who are doing research are now seeing some of these people we are seeing are heroes, such as Mahatma Gandhi was in fact one of the most racist against African people. So history has been rewritten every day by our young people.
And listen, I am so proud of our youth because they're not going for the okie doke. How many you have both places, but how many employees do you have currently working for you?
We have about working with us now.
Okay, great. We got a few more minutes, and I want to say, man, we got to do this again and really educate our people, because I think it's one thing that everybody who is tuned in to this podcast, please go by 5206 South Harper Avenue, right there, a couple of doors down from the theater. Go and purchase some of these books you have heard. Go into the store, and they'll highly recommend books that they feel you should have in your library at home. Everybody should have this. Knowledge is power. And if you don't have certain books in your house, I know most of you all think you could keep reading online and purchase it online. I get it. You caught up because that's the way things are. But your butt better get you some hard copies of these great books that you heard our brother talk about. But brother, I want to thank you so
Your History
much.
by J. Rogers. It's a black book, history book for children.
Yes.
And I think it's very pertinent. It's called Your History by J. Rogers.
And that's for children, right?
That's what, yes. Written by J. Rogers, one of our most astute black historians.
You're right. And see, when we talk about all of the stuff that's going crazy in America, here in Chicago, oftentimes our children are not stimulated, and they need something else to lift them up, lift up their conscience, their spirit. They're not the same young people. These young people today, they different from their parents. They want and they thirst for knowledge. Unfortunately, they very stressed out. They very misguided
because it's not an age of reading anymore.
The garbage from the media.
It's not an age where people read anymore. It's an age where people live stream and all those different things. So what has to be done now is now the direction of audiobooks and all these things that they can come into being. So the black entrepreneur, black bookstores, black publishers have to go in those directions as well, because at the end of the day, when you live in a 2021, and you ask your children or your grandchildren, as the case might be, if they know who is Rosa Parks, and for the most part, most people don't know. Most young people don't know who Rosa Parks was. Most people only could remember Martin Luther King when he called up his holiday injury. But if you ask somebody to give you write a short essay on Rosa Parks, on Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, on Fred Hampton, who is from Chicago, and so on, they would be unable to do it, because they don't read. The schools do not teach them about these personalities. The school doesn't teach them about the civil rights movement. The school doesn't teach them about brown and brown and discriminationary laws against why it is that today they could be able to go to certain schools, and why it is that in the 50s up to about 63, black people and black students were not allowed to go to schools under the gun, whereby some schools, even state schools, they were not able to go because they were black.
Wow. I had an opportunity, brother, to escort around our brother Kwame Ture, former Stokely Carmichael. I chauffeured him around a couple of times, one time in Chicago, but I was around him. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate you. I will be over there myself at 5206 South Harper Avenue at this great bookstore. We are going to close out tonight. We was a little behind, so it don't make it. We could be over a little bit tonight, but we're going to just try to stick with the time. So thank you, brother. May God continue to bless you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. The struggle continues. The information world is here, and we got to utilize all aspects of it to spread the message to our people, and also the young people of who is coming, so they could take up the mark of liberation, Black liberation.
Yes,
we are
sir.
gracious for Denise of having us here, inviting us here, and the struggle continues. We will probably be trying to move from here. We're trying to raise money to pay off our rent, and we probably gonna have a closing down sale coming up soon, because we don't know if we could continue to survive here with this high rent, and especially in this period of a great pandemic, which has scattered and hit a lot of our small businesses very hard. But
That's right.
we're very grateful
But
to be here, and the
yes,
struggle
sir.
continues, and we will not give up without a fight.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace and love, my brother.
Much love.
My
So,
big
thank
brother.
you again, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, peace and love.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. So thank you all for joining tonight. Again, sorry for the technical difficulty that we experienced, which caused the show to be about 15 minutes long. But everything is on time. Everything happens for a reason. But the show still went on, and we had a wonderful, marvelous, amazing, awesome, powerful guest on. So with that, I think Denise will say a couple of seconds, the closing remarks in terms of, I don't know if there's a winner for the book of the month, but Simon, you can bring on Denise. And guys, I'll see you next week, same time, same place. I'll talk with you all then. Peace.
Thank you, Gregory, and thank you so much, Sekou, for coming on us all of this knowledge that you have with the bookstores. You have all the books that you have in that store. We actual books is situated in all of our books, so that somehow when people come in, they're looking at the fact that they should be reading and that they should know. And so I just want to thank you so much, Sekou, for coming on. I want you to thank you so much for enduring the pandemic, and even prior to the pandemic, all of the development and changes, closures off of streets that went in Hyde Park at one point in time. But it just shows that there is a need for the service that you are providing. And so I do want to thank everyone again for coming. Please go to our website. You can a replay of this interview and all of our podcasts at rrgbc.org. You can also go to the website, and our book of the month is Less to African People, and that will be, the winner will be announced at the last podcast of the month, which is the 25th of August. And also you can go to our website and you can shop from our store, which will support our efforts, and you may also donate. So I want to thank you again for coming, and you have a good night.